Hey guys, this is Joe. Today I want to introduce you to our partner Vanta. Achieving ISO 27001 or SOC 2 compliance can unlock major growth for your company and build customer trust, but the process can be time intense and costly. Vanta automates compliance, getting your audit ready quickly and saving up to 85% of associated costs. And Vanta scales with your business, helping you enter new markets. Join 7,000 global companies like Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora that trust Vanta. Claim 20% off Vanta at vanta.com/startupradio. That's vanta.com, spelled vanta.com/startupradio.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io. Welcome to another interview in Startuprad.io, the authority on German startups. Today I would like to welcome Torben, who has also been in Spain for some time, but we'll soon get to the story. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Joe. I'm doing really well. Thanks for inviting me.
Totally my pleasure. We've been messing around a little bit in Spanish, so I thought, I'll show up 90% of the Spanish I still remember, and that's it. So you are here today for very interesting reason, because you are your official title is Country Director, right? Country Director Germany of Qonto, which is spelled Qonto. German pronunciation of a current account, of a bank account, Qonto, and of this company, which is actually headquartered in France. But you guys made a fundraising. We also covered in our news, and actually you shared those news, and that's why we got into contact. Thank you very much for that. You made 486 million euros in a Series D, of which 100 million euros will go to the German market expansion. And so far, I would state your focus is SMEs, freelancers, startups, with a strong focus on customer satisfaction. So far, so good?
So far, so good. Perfect.
Awesome. So let's dive a little bit in who you are and what you did. I see you've gotten around quite a little bit. You've been to Madrid, you've been to Mannheim, and you've been to Paris studying. How was it there, and how was the food?
The food in all locations was amazing, to be honest. So that's true. I've been around Europe for my studies. I also went to India for quite some time. But I really enjoyed all of the locations. But I have to say, the best food, probably in Berlin, where I am right now, because you have the best food from all over the world in one city.
Yeah, it's very international there. I would be curious, where have you been in India and how was it? Because I've seen you've been there for Audi, the big car company.
That's exactly right. So it was between my undergrad and my master degree. And I really wanted to just see a different part of the world. And India was one place which always fascinated me. I wanted to go somewhere completely different. And India was definitely the place where it's very different as soon as you get there. And it was an amazing experience. I spent half a year there, met amazing people and had amazing food as well. I think I've never eaten that well in my life. I was in Mumbai came in the first day I came there. It was the start of monsoon season, so it rained for 3 months. But even despite that, I really enjoyed my time there.
I would always go for butter chicken. What was your favorite dish?
It changed over time. So at the beginning, it was chicken korma. And then over time, I really enjoyed palak paneer. But really, all of the dishes are really amazing. And you get used to the spiciness as well. And spiciness in the sense of being hot, but also the different spices that you see there that you don't normally taste in European cuisine.
Exactly. And now we've taken our daily detour. Let's go a little bit into what you did in business terms. I've seen you had stops at Rocket Internet. a consultancy called Oliver Wyman, and very interesting for a lot of people interested in startups, Bird, the company. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did there and maybe a little bit hinting at what you've learned there?
That's exactly right. So after my studies, I studied finance at HEC in Paris, a business school, where I focused on financial topics. And during that time, I already had a lecture together with Oliver Wyman, which was focused on fintech. And I even had some experience in fintech before at Rocket Internet, at Lendico back in the day. I think it was we were a very small team at the time, but scaled relatively fast during that time. I think within 6 months, we were at over 100 people and in 5 markets, which was crazy, crazy speed during that time. But decided to do my master's in Paris. Always had this fintech idea in mind, but I really wanted to learn finance from the ground up. And that's why I joined Oliver Wyman, and I wanted to advise traditional banks, traditional insurances on their digital efforts. And that's exactly what I did. You can approach it from different angles. You can do it greenfield, basically from a clean slate. You can try to digitalize your existing offering, or you can buy different players. And that's all of that I experienced over time. But during some of these projects, I realized, hey, it's really fun to build something, especially one project, which was fairly long for consulting terms. We built a B2C bank for an existing traditional bank in London. And I realized, hey, it's really fun also to stay there and to see what you're building and to see the success of it. And that's why I decided to go back to the startup life. And at that time, Bird came up as an opportunity. For those who might not know what it is, Bird is an American micromobility company. They offer scooters, I think now even e-bikes and so on to share. They were actually the first ones that started the scooter hype and revolution, if you want to say. And I was interested for 2 reasons. One was I really liked the scooters when I first saw them in Madrid, and I really liked riding with them. But also the point in time. It was before we entered the German market and the Austrian market, and my role was to enter and prepare the go-to-market in southern Germany and Austria, which was really, really fun. But after 1 year, I realized, okay, the go-to-market is done, and I'm still interested in fintech topics, and that's why I'm here at Qonto, and I'm really happy to be on board.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I see, I see. When I look a little bit further into your profile, it gets very interesting because in Qonto, you guys, like the whole company, French and German part, you raised 622 million. I assume that's everything, including the Series D we just talked about. And I found some very interesting investors like Vala Ventures, Peter Thiel, European Investment Bank, Tencent, also known to our audience, as well as DST Global and Tiger Global, TCV. And what I found interesting was also KKR and Insight Partners, especially KKR, because they are normally a private equity house taking companies off the stock exchange, restructuring them.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a variety of investors. Some of them, well, actually, most of them are investors that have been with us for quite a long time. If you look at Alvin, if you look at Vela Ventures, Tencent, they participated in previous rounds as well. So we grew with them over time. And we're really happy to have them as investors. And in our recent funding, obviously, due to the size as well, at some point, there's more growth equity funds that are interested in these kind of investments.
Because your company gets a little bit more stable, the cash flows get more predictable, the growth gets more predictable, and that's when those players enter. You said they've been with us for a long time. How long have you been with Qonto, and what was your role there so far?
Well, I joined in 2020 when we were already operating actually in the German market. Maybe to go back a little bit. So what Qonto does and what we're doing, because I think it's important for the story as well. So Qonto is the leading European business finance solution, and what really the only thing that you need to know is that we want to help SMEs, so small and medium-sized enterprises, startups, freelancers, to protect their most valuable resources, which is time, energy, and focus. Our two founders, Alex and Steve, they founded their own company before, which had nothing to do with fintech. It had something to do with e-cigarettes back in the day. But they realized that business banking back in the day was really broken. It took a long time to get feedback from their account manager when they wanted to send something in US dollar. It was really not a great experience that you would be used to in the B2C space. So they were looking for something else, and they went on to build their own. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're simplifying everything from everyday banking and financing to bookkeeping and spend management. And the goal is really for you to focus on what matters, creating the value for your customer, have the headspace to do that, and don't worry about the finance management behind it. That's what we're doing. And maybe a little bit more about me. So I joined in 2020 when we were already launched in the German market. We started out with a small team from Paris in the German market. Of course, German speakers, but based in Paris then, with I would say, minimum viable product back then. We started with a French IBAN in the German market, which was an interesting learning as well. We realized, okay, on paper, it shouldn't really make a difference whether you have a French IBAN or a German IBAN, but de facto, there exists the IBAN discrimination in Europe, and we realized, okay, we need to change it. It's also made us realize, okay, trust in Germany is a major thing. So German customers tend to trust you a little bit later than in other markets maybe, but you need to bridge that trust. And that's what we've been doing for quite some time. So we launched a German IBAN relatively quickly. I think within 3 months, we were there with the German IBAN. We managed to integrate a lot of different software providers, solutions that German customers use, most namely Data. For example, we partnered with Raisin, with SumUp, with some of the products that people use for their day-to-day banking and for their finance management. And we also over time I think in September 2020 we won the Fintech Germany Award for the best market entry, and then continued from there. So what we're doing now in Germany is really offer the everyday banking on the one side. So you've got the German IBAN, you've got the physical and virtual MasterCard, payment methods, of course, like the everyday banking needs to work. But then we're offering the simplified accounting, so you can scan receipts, you can sync it with Datev and so on. You can organize your teams in it, empower your employees to spend with the cards that you give them, maybe in virtual cards, and you can integrate with your favorite bookkeeping solution, Zefdesk, Fastbill, you name it. And that's what we're doing in the German market.
That sounds pretty interesting. We may take a few steps back because not everybody listening here is a fintech geek. So first up, I'm very sure René from Fastbill would love this statement. He's been also in one of our interview guests here, with his exit to the Canadian unicorn. We're talking about an IBAN, which is an international bank account number, and you're talking about a French and German IBAN, and that's basically like the first two letters. They designate the country, like DE for Germany. Then there are two numbers that designates the city with a little bit more, and then there's the account number. So basically, if you have one whole IBAN, it should, in theory, be possible to send money to this account from all over the world with any problems. As I said, in theory. You talked about Datev, which is basically the main format, the main provider to exchange accounting data around here with the tax authorities and stuff like that. And you talked about Raisin, now Raisin DS, which is a broker for fixed deposits. Like fixed
deposit savings.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we'll also link the interview with René and Tamas, the founder of Raisin, down here in the show notes. You'll find them there. Now that we got that out of the way, where are my notes? What else I want to talk about with you? Oh, there is a lot to talk because you with Qonto are present in a lot of countries, but a little bird, namely your PR lady, told me 2021 Germany was your fastest growing market, right?
That's exactly right. So we not only won the 2020 Fintech Germany Award for the best market entry, but we really shown over 2021 that we can build the trust with the German customers. And it was, in fact, our fastest growing market. We grew by 2.7x our customer base in Germany over that year, which was I was really happy about it. And this year we're doubling down on Germany. So we're operating in 4 countries. We started out in France. We're now in 4 European countries. So it's France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And we pretty much launched all the international markets at the same time. So end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we launched in Italy, Spain, and Germany. And during that time, it was interesting to see the differences between the different European markets. I think it's also interesting for maybe some of the listeners who aren't that familiar with the European market. Some people think about the European market as just one, but it's really different between the market, especially if you are a fintech company. So you of course have some compliance that you need to apply to. But you also need to think about the different market dynamics. And what we see, for example, in Spain, there's a lot more market development that you need to do, more customer education. You also in Spain have very strong traditional banks like BBVA or BBVA, which is very active in Latin America with their digital offerings. So they have quite a strong digital offering. You've got Italy, on the other hand, which is, more of a clean slate in terms of the competitive landscape, but you still you have a big offline market as well. So you need to pull more customers into the online world. And then you've got Germany, where the customers are more accustomed, I would say, to digital offerings, even though maybe the prejudice is that German companies or Germans are a little bit slower in the adoption of digital offerings. I would say in the B2B space, they're quite open if you can show them the benefit. On the other hand, you have also competitors in the German market. So that's kind of the trade-off in that sense. But we like competition in that sense because you can see the product market fit of your solution, and you can see that if there are competitors which are somehow similar to what you're doing, then you can see that there is indeed a market. So that's a good thing. And we ultimately just want to serve the customers with the best service. So it helps us improving our service as well.
I've also found out that 1/3 of your clients are already startups. So, as you said, there is, it's easier to explain. For example, somebody who would not know Startuprad.io, I could tell them I'm doing the same as This Week in Startups for Germany, just better. And you can do the same, right?
Exactly. So one third of our customers are founders in Germany, and it's roughly the same in France. We're helping founders in both countries. And it's really something that German founders are surprised by. When you create your capital company in Germany, you need a business bank account to pay in your capital deposit. And it's the step in the process where most people are surprised by how long it takes. So either a traditional bank doesn't accept you when you want to open a business bank account, or it takes weeks to create it. And we at Qonto, just like in our traditional offering, we do 100% online, 100% digital. You can create an account within 10 minutes, and then we'll set you up to be ready for the trade registry within 72 hours. So that's our promise. And we want to basically help the founders in Germany to be faster at the company creation and make it as seamless and as quick as they needed to be and as they expected also to be. And I think that's really needed in Germany as well. We have a Gründungsrate, a founding rate, so the percentage basically of the startup companies in Germany, which has over the last decade or two decreased all the time. And we really need to move the needle here and create more companies, more innovative ideas in Germany and in Europe to protect our wealth as well as a European society.
When you've been talking about doing it all digital, focusing on founders, of course, what came to mind was N26. They're not necessarily a business company, but they'll do some competition, especially in terms of freelancers for you. Holvi, Penta, which we had pretty frequently in the interview from the very start, and Deutsche Bank's competitor Fyrst. They all come to mind. Where would you say are you different? Because especially when you see the fundings of N26, like the last funding, 900 million US dollars. If you want to beat that with 100 million US dollars, you either have to be very good or very different.
Well, first of all, congrats to them. We're happy for them. I think what sets us apart at Qonto is our pure B2B focus. So we're focused on small, medium-sized enterprises, freelancers, startups, founders only. We don't do B2C, and that's the first difference there. But the three main things that set us apart is, on the one hand, our product. So we built our own core banking system, which really allows us to have a very reliable, very fast service without any interruptions and so on. And it allows us to build features very fast. So many fintechs, for those who might not know a lot of the fintechs, but many fintechs basically plug into an existing core banking system and build their service around it. What we're doing, and that was a strategic decision, was to build our own core banking system and use that as a strong base to also offer what we're offering now. Spend management solutions with cards, virtual cards, flash cards that you can set with an expiry date very flexibly. Those kind of things we wouldn't be able to do if we didn't have our own core banking system. So that's the first part, product. The second part really is customer service. So we have 7 days a week customer service by email, chat, telephone. And that's especially important in the German market, but also in the other European markets to have basically a good and excellent customer support. We see that in the ratings, for example, on Trustpilot, on the App Store, on the Google Play Store, to really make sure that our customers are happy with us and trust us as well. And then the third point is the pricing. So we offer a fair and transparent pricing. We separate between the solo companies, which use the bank account only for themselves, and the team plans, which means that companies use it for their employees as well, and to give them different roles and so on. Our philosophy is we don't want to offer a free account. We want to offer no hidden fees, and we want to be very transparent about it. And that's why we offered it this way. And that's what sets us apart, I would say.
And as far as I know, you surpassed 250,000, meaning 250,000 accounts end of April 2020, true?
Exactly, 250,000 business customers which trust us in all of the markets. And so we're really happy about that development. I think at the end of last year was 120,000. So we grew significantly over that period of time. And our goal is until 2025 to reach 1 million customers in Europe. And if you look at the European landscape, there are roughly 25 million SMEs in Europe. With the 4 markets that we have right now, we're covering 15 million of them. So it's a huge market. And many of them, of course, are served by traditional banks. And we want to convince them that our solution offers them the best service that they can get.
Mm-hmm. I've also seen that you guys had a crowdfunding campaign with your clients, also bringing in additional 5 million. When you make such a lot of funding, you don't need that crowdfunding. So what was the trigger for that?
It's a good question. I think first of all, it wasn't really about the money of the 5 million. It's, of course, really, really good to have it. But the main idea here was to strengthen our community of customers. So the crowd investing round was only open for our customers. And we wanted to build a network of our customers who really believe in our product and want to trust and want to engage with us in a different way. And that was the starting point where we said, okay, let's plan for a crowd investing round. And we did that even during our Series D while we were talking to investors. So our investors back then knew that this was coming. And we wanted to basically build a community of our ambassadors who are also investors. And if I think about my stocks that the companies that I'm invested in through stocks, I'm really interested in what they're doing and how they're doing. I read the news about them. I'm much more engaged. I feel closer to that company. We wanted to create that feeling as well. And on the other hand, we wanted to use the community to kind of have the dialogue together. There were around about 1,800 customers who invested for this 5 million. And those customers are loyal customers. They believe in our company, in our product, and in our future. And we want to build the next features with them as well. So we want to engage them more. We want to ask them for feedback. And that was the main idea. And by the way, we are the only scale-up who managed to do this and who wanted to try it on that scale. Usually you hear about crowdfunding, crowd investing more at an earlier stage, but we really wanted to do it for a different reason. And we're really happy with the results. And now we're starting to engage with this community of our investors.
Mm-hmm. That sounds pretty good. So you're more about customer satisfaction, like more a real community than just offering good banking services. I would like to pick your brain a little bit for those thousands of people listening to this from abroad, because you guys had to localize a German version from a different product. Admittedly, the French culture is not so much different, right? They also love bread. They also drive on the right side of the road, and they also love football. For the Americans, that's the real soccer. Yeah, the real football. But did you find any differences, like big things you had to learn or to realize as a German? Oh yeah, that's different for us.
Well, first of all, we decided to launch in those 3 additional markets because there are similarities and because they are the biggest other markets in Europe. That was the rationale for Germany, Spain, and Italy. But of course, there are cultural differences. And I think if you want to launch in Germany, I would say it really depends in terms of localization, what kind of product or service you're offering. So it could be that with your e-commerce solution, you might be able to have fairly little localization effort. But in general, what you need to keep in mind for Germany is that credibility and trust is really the most important thing in the German market. So I mentioned that we started with an MVP with the French IBAN in the German market. We learned from that, but our very first customers were really French German customers at the very beginning, and then some early German adopters who were curious and they were open to different solutions. And we were really wanted to learn. And at the beginning, the connection to these early adopters was really key. And that was the most important thing at the beginning, I think. When we talk about trust, you can also think about bridging that trust. So I would say the role of partnerships, you shouldn't underestimate. So really making sure that your local partners, that you have a strong local tie to them. It's also a good way to position yourself with these brands together and to expand on those partnerships over time. Being present in the German market is also very important. So building the community, like I mentioned, having events together is also super important, and just being present in the respective ecosystem. And by the way, the business landscape, of course, It depends on the sector you're in, but Germany is of course much more decentralized than France, for example. In France, much of the headquarters, if you look at the biggest companies, are headquartered in Paris, and lots of the economy is based in Paris. Of course, you have other cities like Lyon, where there's also an ecosystem. But in Germany, it's very decentralized depending on what you're working with. If we're talking about SMEs and the Mittelstand in Germany, there's a strong footprint in southern Germany and in the west of Germany. If you're talking about startups, you have Berlin. Of course, everyone knows Berlin. And the Fintech ecosystem, for example, in Berlin is still the biggest within the country. But there's also Frankfurt, there's also Hamburg, there's also Munich, maybe Munich a lot for deep tech companies as well. And many of the international tech companies are also based in Munich for the talent and the good universities. So it's much more versatile, I would say, as a market, and you need to address that, and you need to think about, depending on the service that you're offering, what your go-to-market approach is in Germany in that sense. So I would say culture on the one hand, so trust, really important to bridge that trust through partnerships, flagship clients, and so on. Of course, also customer service, quality, to have this wow effect at the beginning, but also considering the differences in the landscape. And of course, I would also say talent. So Germany is a great place to also attract talent. It can be German talent or international people who work in Germany. It's a very diverse landscape, I would say, in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Um, Before we already recording for more than 30 minutes by now, and I would just want to highlight one point that I found very interesting with you guys is basically the ideas at one point that you could switch between different accounts, like switching the country in Gmail. That would be something I actually can feel now a traditional banker from one of the traditional banks here in Germany. They just got a heart attack or stroke just thinking about that. How do you guys make this possible?
There's several aspects to it. So I think underneath everything, there is the core banking system. So you need to work it on that level, and then from the ground up, I would say. And that's maybe also the difference to a traditional bank where you have legacy infrastructure and where you need to deal with a lot of different IT systems. So we don't have that. That makes it, of course, easier. The second thing is, so thinking about it from a customer perspective really helps, of course, when you design the product. So thinking about, okay, what would the customer need? And we, for example, think of ourselves as a European company, have thought about that since the very beginning. And our customers are also European or international. So switching between legal entities or maybe different bank accounts, even from one country to the other. So if I'm the CFO and I want to check how my German bank account or my French bank account works, you can just toggle and switch it on the left top hand side. And that's what was something that came over time, of course, but it really speaks to the idea and that it should be simple and you shouldn't spend too much time on it. It shouldn't be too, it can be technical if you want to, but it should be as simple and intuitive as it can be. And kind of using that analogy from Gmail, which I use every day, I found it very intuitive. So why not use it as well?
That is totally true. Getting to the very last section, the outlook. You've been already stating some goals. So what is on the horizon for Qonto in Germany as well as taking over the world? What's the plan?
We have a lot of plans, but for I would say for the long-term vision is to reach 1 million European SMEs and freelancers by 2025. So we want to grow and we want to reach more companies and help them. That means for Qonto several things. So first of all, grow our international footprint, further increase the market penetration in the existing markets. So Germany, Italy, and Spain. Our goal there is to have 75% of our new clients outside of France by 2025, and to reinforce our European leadership by launching new markets by 2023. So the idea here is strengthen and further increase our footprint in the existing markets we're already in, but also expanding into new ones. Then the second point is on people. So we need to be the best employer that we can be in order to reach our goals and to attract the best talent. And we want to quadruple in size. So we're currently over 600 people at Qonto, and we want to be more than 2,000 by 2025. And 50% of our new hires will be based outside of France, which is, of course, also something that will change the dynamic and the internationalization of the company itself. In Germany, we plan to hire 100 new employees by the end of 2023, which is quite a lot. We're currently at over 25 employees. We want to reach that by the end of next year. And to do that, we just need to be the most attractive employer. We're, for example, having a Qonto Campus program, where we're allowing employees to work from our different offices in Barcelona, in Paris, in Milano, and in Berlin. Flexible remote policies, having a very engaging work environment. So those are all things that are kind of a condition for success. And then on the product side, we obviously want to expand our product and ensure our offering is the best product available in the markets. And you can think about it in three ways. So you can build it in-house, which we're certainly doing all the time. You can have new strategic partnerships. We're quite pragmatic about that in the sense of if someone else offers a better service, we'll partner with them, we'll integrate them better for the customer ultimately. And potential acquisitions are also on the table.
I see. So you try to do everything and get big fast. So I've taken from the interview that there's no imminent IPO on the cards right now.
That's exactly right. So we want to focus on our growth and, of course, never say never, but our journey hasn't come to that end yet. So we really want to grow, and we've raised money, and we want to spend it wisely, and we want to grow in a smart way in those markets. And we see a big potential. Like I said, 25 million SMEs in Europe. It's a huge market, and we want to serve them the best way possible.
I see. And for everybody who may be interested in getting hired by Qonto, you provide a URL for us. You could go down here in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this or watching to this. There's a link to our Medium blog, and there you'll find the link to the Qonto homepage. For every investment banker and SPAC owner who's out there who still thinks that Qonto should IPO pretty soon, there's also your LinkedIn profile link there, right?
Exactly. So we're looking in different roads. If you're interested in Qonto, please feel free to reach out.
Great. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you, Joe.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.